In this new part of our journey through the world of rock, we revisit groups that made valuable contributions but don't receive the credit they deserve. 15 amazing rock bands that are underrated, Part 3. MARILLION. Formed in the UK in the late 70s, this band emerged from the neo-progressive movement, standing out for its evocative atmosphere and poetic lyrics. Initially fronted by vocalist Fish and later by Steve Hogarth, the lineup also featured Steve Rothery on guitar, Mark Kelly on keyboards, Pete Trewavas on bass, and Ian Mosley on drums. Their sound blends elements of classic progressive rock with accessible, emotive melodies. MARILLION is often considered underrated for remaining in the shadow of the great 70s progressive bands and for being unfairly labeled a Genesis imitator in its early days. Nevertheless, their consistent discography and the devotion of their fans demonstrate the band's importance in the modern progressive and alternative rock scene.
He knows that victory is secure. Drink coin for the fountain, or to cover your eyes, your eyes. Kaylee, is it too late to say I'm sorry? Kaylee, can we be
Wire.
renewed, it seems as if...
Hailing from London, this band emerged in the late 70s as a fundamental part of the punk scene, but quickly expanded its musical boundaries into post-punk and electronic experimentation. Its core members include Colin Newman on vocals and guitar, Graham Lewis on bass, Robert Gotobed on drums, and Bruce Gilbert on guitar. Their minimalist and innovative sound influenced several generations.
The camels died, logging like Jesus.
In the raging torchlights!
And the ghost goes, and the ghost goes, ba ba.
Wire is frequently seen as underrated because, despite its profound influence on bands like R.E.M., Sonic Youth, and even 90s alternative rock, it never achieved commercial success proportional to its relevance. The band is a clear example of how artistic innovation doesn't always translate into popular recognition. SLADE. Originating in Wolverhampton, this British band established itself in the 70s as one of the leading names in glam rock. With Noddy Holder on vocals, Jim Lee on bass and keyboards, Dave Hill on guitar, and Don Powell on drums, their style is marked by vibrant energy, catchy choruses, and a strong stage presence.
I believe in woman, my oh my.
SLADE is considered underrated because, despite scoring numerous hits in the UK, they didn't achieve the same international impact as contemporaries like T-Rex or Sweet. Still, the band's influence was decisive for hard rock and even metal, being recognized by artists such as Quiet Riot and Oasis. Captain Beyond. Formed in the early 70s, this American band featured former members of groups like Iron Butterfly, Deep Purple, and the Johnny Winter Band. Its original lineup included Rod Evans on vocals, Larry Reinhardt and Lee Dorman on guitars and bass, and Bobby Caldwell on drums. Mixing hard rock, psychedelia, and progressive rock, the group built a unique and daring sound.
There's only open space to give, and there's nothing to the.
Captain Beyond is underrated because it never reached the commercial success of bands with similar origins, but its music is revered by fans and musicians who recognize its originality. The instrumental complexity and experimental spirit make the band a hidden gem of rock's golden era.
Wish I could go with them, brother, but of all things, it's only I. Yes, you know I no longer.
Mountain. This American band emerged in the late 60s, featuring Leslie West on guitar and vocals, Felix Pompilardi on bass, Corky Lang on drums, and Steve Knight on keyboards. Their style is heavy hard rock with a strong blues influence, highlighted by the anthem Mississippi Queen, and their vocal and instrumental power.
See, you are Mississippi Queen, if you know what I mean.
Mountain is often remembered only for a single hit, which reduces their true importance. However, the band directly influenced the development of heavy metal and hard rock, and is revered for its robust sound. Because of this, Mountain is often seen as an unjustly forgotten giant.
Singing for my fool, baby, you know that I've got everything I need.
Oyster Cult. Formed in New York in the late 60s, this band brought together Eric Bloom, Donald Buck Dharma Roser, Alan Lanier, and the brothers Joe and Albert Bouchard. Their style combines hard rock, psychedelia, and dark elements that anticipated metal, with lyrics full of mystical and literary references. Blue Oyster Cult is considered underrated because, despite its influence on heavy metal and alternative rock bands, it has often been confined to the success of hits like Don't Fear the Reaper and Godzilla. In reality, their work goes far beyond, with complex and creative albums that still deserve greater recognition today. Three Dog Night. Hailing from Los Angeles, this band was formed in the late 60s with Danny Hutton, Corey Wells, and Chuck Negron on vocals, backed by a solid instrumental section. Known for striking vocal harmonies, the band explored everything from pop rock to soul and R&B, always with great melodic appeal. Three Dog Dog Night is underrated because, despite having an impressive streak of chart hits, they don't receive the same recognition today as other groups of the time. The versatility and talent of the vocal trio show that the band deserves to be remembered as one of the great interpreters of American popular music.
Turns my
Be sure to watch the other videos in this list and check out incredible bands that left an important mark on the history of rock, but for some reason are not properly valued. Click on the card appearing at the top of your screen. Little Feat. Formed in Los Angeles in 1969, this band was led by Lowell George on vocals and guitar, accompanied by Bill Payne on keyboards, Richie Hayward on drums, and Roy Estrada on bass, who was replaced in 1972 by Kenny Gradney. In the same year, the group gained new members, guitarist Paul Barrere and percussionist Sam Clayton. Their sound is a unique fusion of rock, blues, funk, country, and jazz, always marked by musical virtuosity.
The siren song is strong sometimes on this Texas radio.
Little Feat is considered underrated because it never achieved widespread popular fame, despite its originality and the respect it commands among musicians. Its blend of styles and refined compositions made the band a cult reference, admired by artists like Frank Zappa and Jimmy Page.
Every time I go to Mexico, and I'm still too son to come carry, to have to beat a tone.
Savoy Brown. Originating in London in the mid-60s, this band was founded by guitarist Kim Simmons, the central figure in all its numerous lineups. Their style is heavily rooted in blues rock, with long improvisations and a raw sound that helped shape the genre.
Talk about you.
Well, I'm tired of being a fool, and my mind's going from hot to cold, baby. I'm thinking about you.
Tell Mama and all the folks back home.
Savoy Brown is underrated because, although it was essential in solidifying British blues rock, it is rarely remembered alongside bands like Fleetwood Mac or Cream. The historical importance and longevity of Savoy Brown deserve much more recognition than they receive.
Well, I'm tired.
"10 Years After." Created in Nottingham, this 60s British band featured Alvin Lee on guitar and vocals, accompanied by Leo Lyons on bass, Rick Lee on drums, and Chick Churchill on keyboards. Blending blues, jazz, and rock, the group achieved worldwide prominence after their legendary performance at Woodstock.
Come on back to me. Use my interest on it. Go home.
10 years after is frequently seen as underrated because their fame became heavily associated with Alvin Lee and his guitar virtuosity. However, the band as a whole played an essential role in British blues rock, pioneering the combination of refined technique with stage energy. James Gang. This American band emerged in the mid-60s in Ohio, and its most acclaimed lineup featured Joe Walsh on guitar and vocals, Dale Peters on bass, and Jim Fox on drums. Their style united hard rock, blues, and psychedelia with striking riffs and a groove that anticipated 70s rock sounds. James Gang is considered underrated because it never reached the same level of fame as other bands from the period, but its influence on subsequent guitarists and groups is undeniable. Furthermore, Joe Walsh's time in the band elevated its prestige among classic rock connoisseurs. MC5. Born in Detroit in the mid-60s, this band was formed by Rob Tyner, Wayne Kramer, Fred Sonic Smith, Michael Davis, and Dennis Thompson. Known for its explosive energy, it mixed garage rock, proto-punk, and political activism in its lyrics and performances. MC5 is often considered underrated because, despite being a pillar of punk and alternative rock, its classic phase was short and never achieved high sales. Still, the band's influence is enormous, inspiring everyone from The Clash to Rage Against the Machine. Its later reunions helped keep the band's legacy alive. MUDHONEY. Formed in Seattle in 1988, this band emerged with Mark Arm on vocals and guitar, Steve Turner on guitar, Dan Peters on drums, and Matt Lukin on bass, who was replaced by Guy Madison starting in 2001. With a raw and distorted sound, they are considered one of the forerunners of grunge, blending punk, garage rock, and black humor.
All the neighborhood dogs looking at her feet. Sweet old thing ain't sweet no
more. MUDHONEY is frequently pointed to as underrated, as they never achieved the global fame of Nirvana or Pearl Jam, despite being essential to the Seattle scene. The cultural and musical impact of MUDHONEY proves that the band deserves a more prominent place in rock history.
What have I, mama,
Cinderella. Hailing from Philadelphia in the 80s, this hard rock and glam metal band featured Tom Kiefer as vocalist and guitarist, Jeff LaBar on guitar, Eric Brittingham on bass, and Fred Coury on drums. Their sound mixed the energy of glam with blues influences, standing out in the scene of the time. Cinderella is underrated because, although they were successful during the hair metal era, they're often placed as secondary to names like Bon Jovi or Poison. However, Kiefer's musicality and vocal talent, along with the bluesy influences, make the band distinctive and deserving of greater recognition. Exodus. This thrash metal band was born in California in 1979 with Gary Holt, longtime creative leader and guitarist, drummer Tom Hunting, and striking vocalists like Paul Baloff, Steve Zetro Souza, and Rob Dukes among its core members. Kirk Hammett was also part of the initial lineup before moving on to Metallica. Their sound is fast, brutal, and full of distinctive riffs that helped solidify the genre. Exodus is considered underrated because, despite being a pioneer of thrash metal alongside Metallica, Slayer, and Megadeth, it never achieved the same commercial success. Nevertheless, its influence is immense, and Exodus continues to be revered by the most faithful fans of extreme metal. Even without receiving all the attention they deserved, these bands were fundamental in shaping rock as we know it today. This video is a celebration of the legacy they left, recognizing their influence and the quality of the music they provided us. Tell us in the comments, which bands do you want to see in Part 4? Help our channel grow. Like, share, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next videos. Thank you for watching. See you on the next musical journey.